Welcome everybody to the IOER-Forum. Beginning of January, we have snow in Dresden. It's snowing again, and we are happy to have this IOER-Forum together with you online and on site here in Dresden with Saswat Bandyopadhyay. Saswat is somebody who looks back to 30 years of professional and research experience in urban and regional planning, and he focuses on infrastructure and climate resilient development. I would like to introduce him to you to have a first insight what he's going to do and what he will talk about today. Professor Saswat is full professor at CEPT University, the Faculty of Planning, and this in Ahmedabad, India. He's heavily engaged in teaching and research there, and also leads the CEPT professional training courses. It's a long list, actually, and I shorten it a bit with a further key insights, so to show his involvement in research and practice. So he's engaged in the high-level committee of the National Government of India, where he's advising on questions of regional and urban development, and also an expert member there. Yeah, he's contributed to various projects and publications, and we are very much honored to have somebody like him at IOER as a presenter today for the IOER-Forum, but also as an IOER fellow. We were happy to have you with us, Saswat, for now 3 months, where we engaged a lot in to better understand Indian and German challenges in regional and urban development, but also develop and structure a mutual research agenda. Yeah, for this tilt, what we discussed in the last month, I think it was clear that regional planning is a clear thing, regional coordination of urban development, and also how geodata can inform decision-making in urban planning and regional planning. And with this, Saswat, I would like to invite you to present and to teach us something about how we can use digital tools to manage rapidly transforming economic geographies, not only in Germany, but also in India. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Matthias, and thanks for everyone who are joining us here today, physically here, and also those who are joining online. It's a beautiful, cloudy and snowy afternoon here in Dresden. So the talk that I'm going to give today is our ongoing work related to how we understand apply digital data in rapidly transforming geographies. And that's the context that I wish to bring together. The first, a very quick introduction about my university. I know many of you have already visited, but still a quick is one of the few built environment universities in the country. It's a very small university if you compare the likes of TU Dresden or likes of IIT, Institute of Technologies. But we are slightly bigger than IOER in terms of campus, those of you who have visited us in this. It started as an architecture faculty way back in 1962, followed by in 1972 faculty of planning, and then technology design, and we have a doctoral program related to the built environment area. And also, since past few years, recognizing our involvement in the built environment, national government has also recognized CEPT as a National Center for Excellence in Urban Planning and Design. So through which some of my colleagues are steering research and intervention in the space area. Also, CEPT has been a partner with IOER in one of the International Land Use Symposium that was held in Ahmedabad. And so that's briefly about CEPT University. And this is briefly about me already being spoken about. I was trained as a civil engineer, then as an urban planner, also geospatial application from University of Twente, and subsequently a doctoral research. I have also worked extensive extensively in both in terms of academic research, also as a professional practitioners with Asian Development Bank, World Bank, and of course I am very happy some of my colleagues with from GIZ. Uh, I would like to welcome Irish Glishman. She and Irish and I have worked together in Indian context when for a GIZ program. She is here. So these are very brief. Also, as we constantly, as an university researcher, we also constantly interact with the public policy. These are the some of the intervention areas at the national or as well as provincial government level where we are engaged. And some of these chapters were spearheaded by me. So this is very brief about what we do and as an university. But before I bring it to you about my context of this research and this fellowship here, I just want to set the context about those about India's urbanization landscape. I think this is very important to understand. This is really a massive urbanization taking place. In 2011, in Indian census, we had about 370 million people living in urban areas. So, one out of every 10 urban residents across the world was in Indian cities, and that's makes it a very and if it is projected, that we are expecting by now, we have about 600 million and projected to be about 875 million. That's the kind of structure that we are talking about, and it's rapidly transforming geography that we are seeing into this. If you compare this with Germany, so our urban area alone here, this 36%. So in terms of almost 4 times of national population of Germany is in Indian urban areas. So if you can, if you look at it in that way, almost 6 times of urban population. In terms of economy, we are pretty close as a GDP as a nation, but when you see the per capita and the disparities, we are far way off. And that's the challenge for countries like India, which is trying to, emerge from, a large share of poverty. And so bringing people out of poverty and, managing the challenges of urbanization goes hand in hand in this. We have a very large urban systems anywhere in the world, probably after China. And as per 2011 census, we had about 8,000 urban settlements and close to about 600,000 rural settlement. And since we didn't have a census, formal census since 2011, so this data, whatever I'm saying is way back 15 years, way back. This must have grown by many, many fold by now. That's what our estimations are in this process. Also, being one of the emerging economy countries, India is also witnessing a lot of infrastructure push in terms of high-speed railways, connecting corridors, economic corridors. So this the on the image on the left side, this is a network of semi-high-speed railway network, and the other side is the economic corridor because there is a national thirst to promote economic region for for employment creation as well as poverty reduction. If you see that since we don't have an access to census information which is updated, we often try to use shadow information in terms of nightlight data. As you can see, the clusters that are emerging, the cities are merging together. This is very famous, these two places. This is Chennai and this is Bangalore. And as you can see, there are a lot of corridor formation. This is where Ahmedabad, and you can clearly see the images that shows how things are coming up into this. When this level of growth happens, then you see this kind of physical manifestation. This is my hometown, is city of Calcutta. And as you see this part where the layouts are planned, and the other side, immediately there is a natural growth taking places. And this is all across. This is not only one city, you see all across this. And this is where the challenges are. The moment you see, this is along with the World Resource Institute, we try to see that how much built up areas being added in the various cities. And sorry for the image, it's not very clear. This is our national capital territory, Delhi. It comes out about 54 square kilometer per year, and so on. And so these new areas are, added into this. The challenges is the moment cities go to the periphery, you see this level of hydrological changes. Your cities become more vulnerable for flooding, also more vulnerable to all kind of climate shocks. And this is where my research interest is looking at that, when our cities are expanding, how do you understand this expansion and how do you measure so that you can manage them better into this. This is a situation. This is our IT capital called Gurgaon, which is northern part of India, very close to Delhi, a very popular place for IT companies. And then, the now this kind of flooding event also create a kind of a confidence, loss of confidence, because if your IT corridors get flooded every now and then your economic competitiveness. So the work that I was trying to work on is that how we apply digital data understanding and measuring this rapid transition. And here there is certain amount of conceptual tension that prevails between these two terminologies. And these two terminologies often used simultaneously, whether it is expansion or whether it is sprawl. Every city expands, but not all expansions can be termed as sprawl. So, I mean, that's now how do you measure them? So, there are, that, and how effectively this, because this is changing so rapidly, how you can really, how you can apply certain amount of digital information to bring them. So, this is what our core hypothesis, that all cities expand, but not all cities sprawl. Essentially meaning that every expansion cannot be termed as a sprawl. Okay, so now how do you classify them? How methodologically you look at them? So these two terms, all of us know, is used interchangeably in the literature, in the theories, but then the meaning of these notions are different. And how they are different? So essentially what means is that how much and where the city grows, and sprawl has a value term attached. Sprawl negative, we associate negative value, that the sprawl is bad. Sprawl is not guided. So whenever growth takes place, every city expands, but there are some places where this expands and not guided. It has a value term attached. And there are global methodologies. I mean, many of you are already, there are large amount of methodological approaches that we use. Our effort here is that how we use multi-dimensional indicator to measure this sprawl, because the economy is a major aspects of understanding this expansion and sprawl. I'll not get into these details. Just to tell you in the context of Ahmedabad, so this is what you see as an expand. This is when you see the city is adding a new build form. Now, when you say whether this is an expansion, the second question is, it is an expansion or is it a sprawl? Now, then you have to deep dive the nature of this expansion. So you deep dive the nature of expansion, seeing is it disconnected, is it, and it also has a huge legal concern, because the moment you say sprawl, that means it is outside the boundary of the governing body. So, so there are also legal recourse and financing implication. I'll come back to this slightly later. So this is what we try to, and there are also global tendency. We're using global data sets to apply at the local level. And this is, and like the human settlement layer, those of you work on the raster scale data, you realize that if you add a 100-meter resolution data and then you start implying at a local level, you often go at a certain interpretation go often haywire in this process. I'll just show a very, so this is the global human settlement layer. And all of you know the human settlement layers use certain data, which is good for comparison for country at a macro level. But when you deep dive, you'll not be able to compare them because your population will go and show in the agriculture field, because it's a raster data. Raster works very well. Those of you, many of you work in raster. Raster works very well with the natural resources, agriculture, forestry, not so much in terms of absolute population, because at the local level, the raster data spreads you in areas which is could be beyond the boundary, could be beyond the agriculture, on beyond the settlement level. So basically, many of these spaces are administratively bound. Some are called municipal corporations, some are called revenue villages, some are called. So those polygon data, the challenge between in bringing those polygonized data and understanding the sprawl level is the how you can understand them better. That is what. So the question that we keep on asking ourselves in our research and other work, that how can we manage if you cannot really measure, and if this measurement is not spatial, continuous, as well as predictive, because you know where are how this transformations taking place. And this is where we are also part of a global network of UN Habitat, which is called Degree of Urbanization. As some of you know, that UN Habitat was trying to compare settlement across the world, because every country defines urban separately, differently. So is India. So we are also looking at trying to apply, classify some of the settlements, saying how this can be done. And so there are similar challenges, similar methodological challenges, as you can see how this can, because what UN Habitat defines in the based on certain cells, certain number of population data and density of that data. And so we are trying to apply and trying to see where are the errors, where are the measurements, because the moment you take a global definition, global methodology, there are a lot of repercussion at the local level which needs to be taken up into this. So this is the background where we try to look at it, how a city like Ahmedabad, which is expanding, how how this degree of urbanization can be applied locally, and see what are the kind of results, what are the kind of variations. And this is an ongoing journey that we are trying to do in this. So with this research background, my research interest, I wanted to share a kind of two impactful research work that has influencing or influenced a policy, national as well as provincial public policy. One is what we call is related to the definition of urban area, and this is a very prominent challenge in India, what we call census towns. So these are how countries define urban. India has been one country which is using 3+1 criteria to define urban, one of the most restrictive in the world. So it defines urban use of population threshold of 5,000, density of 400% per square kilometer, 75%, and then it applies 75% is an economic criteria. Then it applies a gender criteria. 75% of male workforce are into non-agriculture, and that's how the urban is defined. And this definition has created a havoc in Indian urban regional landscape. What it created in around the large cities, this kind of settlement, which has already grown up villages, which has attained those criteria but not classified as urban. So there There are villages, urbanized villages, still in rural administration and not classified as urban, and created a massive challenge. So in 2011 census, we have close to 4,000 towns, which are statutory towns, means there is an administration, and 4,000 towns without an administration. And you see the challenges. So these challenges where, this is first time in India, it happened is a National Finance Commission. So we have also inherited a model of Soviet model of 5 years finance commission. So the National Finance Commission, they invited us to give us certain guideline to how you measure, how do you see this kind of growth, and how this, how to this census towns can be classified better. In 2011 census, close to 4,000 are census town, and similar number was in statutory town. And it has as I was saying, there is a strong definitional challenge, because the moment you say urban expansion versus urban sprawl, that administratively it means two different things. If you are an urban expansion, that means we are within the city boundary, so you will be deemed to be urban and you will receive urban project and mission investment. If your call is a sprawl, you will be deemed to be rural or non-urban, and then your investment criteria. And this is a major challenge when the Finance Commission. The same thing happened because as per our definition, this present definition what India uses, in 2011 about 34% was urban and remaining was rural. And Finance Commission, when they devolve resources from Delhi to smaller town, they use simply this formula: 34% urban, 66% rural. So automatically, urban areas remain underinvested. And that's the challenge when you are using global data sets at the local level. So we need to go down and see what are the kind of challenges, what are the kind of regulations that come in this process. So this is one where significant implications has been first time if finance guys are listening to spatial planners. It has never happened in the history of Indian because spatial planning was in Mars and economists were from Venus kind of. So this is first time they came together in this. The second one, taking this forward, a province where we are located is also looking at because this is a very large province, state of Gujarat, where some of you have visited, and it has set a very ambitious target that we need to create a better target about this, and this has been their projected economic trajectory. This also has been receiving a lot of infrastructure, a lot of investment in terms of infrastructure, port, railways, and so on and so forth. And as a result, you see the kind of distribution of. So this is a larger towns. This is what we call statutory towns, and this is what we call rural, urbanized rural areas. So if you look at it, these guys will receive investment from the urban department. These guys will continue to grow and managed as a rural by virtue of the definitional discrepancies that we have it here. And with the infrastructure growth, with the high-speed railway, highway growth, you see a kind of a pattern. So the is a kind of a linear emerging pattern which are and more connectivity increases and more hinterland increases in this. And so is a formal planning system, the way it is defined, you take a boundary of an urban area, then you plan that. It doesn't hold really very, very strongly in this process. So here we looked at as a process of using digital data as a public good, so that this kind of information asymmetry, the understanding about the growth can be made available to public. And in this, so what we used, we started looking at some of the global observatory that are monitoring urban change. One of the very prominent global observatory which is monitoring urban change is in a province of Gauteng, Johannesburg. It's called GCRO, Gauteng City Regional Observatory. This is one of the observatory which combines geospatial data, socioeconomic data, as well as grounded data, empirical data. And then there's as you can see, series of satisfaction levels, series of geospatial analysis are done together. We also looked at it, one in your Germany, about climate and climate related data sets that they are using in terms of some of them. And then this is what we are in the process of setting up, called a Gujarat City Regional Observatory. The idea of this observatory that this we develop an kind of a measurable indicators and also supplemented by ground surveys. Because as I said that if you cannot completely rely on the geospatial indicator alone, but it also has to be supplemented by socioeconomic data, which is from the ground, some empirical subs. So this was, fortunately, it was launched by our honorable Prime Minister. The overall framework is a provincial. The capital is here. The provincial capital is there, and a kind of network of observatories are being developed. The more challenging is that how do you create a set of indicators? Because our effort was to create a multi-level, multi-criteria based indicators, and that led to a very large number of indicators. And with the when you discuss with the stakeholders, when you discuss with the academics like us, we are all often, we come with a large list of indicators, and practically, which is not measurable by the government. So it is now reduced to about 13 what we call key indicators. Those indicators which will give you a certain amount of pulse of what is happening, and they can be subclassified into these processes. So, and they are classified in, some are like urban form, some are related to land and housing, some are mobility, accessibility, climate, environment. Because in this process, because we don't want this monitor to remain within our university, but it also influence the public policy and public decision. And that's how, so the indicators were being worked out, and a large amount of layers, open source or otherwise, are being at play to understand this process. So we are using some of the Indian satellite images, also AI analytics to bring out certain data, to feed, to bring out certain certain analytics that can give certain direction in this process. So these are our first step of implementation, where we are testing some of the indicators in terms of land take, in terms of growth in the city. This is the district-wise land take. This is along some of the corridors, some of the changes that are taking shape in this whole process. But we are still learning a lot in the process. And I am thankful to Dr. Maria and your colleagues. When we met about your data center here, I see a lot of potential to learn and share about each other together into this. Also, Dr. Tobias about IOER monitor and few others. And we are very grateful, because that's how we can build it better, so that and constantly we can evolve in this process into this. And lastly, my a snapshot of my fellowship here. How so one very important exchange that happened, thanks to Professor Matthias, who exchanged along with the Academy of Territorial Development, ARL. We had an exchange on regional planning, and how this spatial planning tools are in play in this two countries. We had this discussion, and as an output of my stay here, we are also working on certain policy brief and commentary, also certain amount of knowledge exchange which can be taken further. This is another very impromptu event, very Indian event. In a sense, is that it is very unplanned event. During the holidays, some of the colleagues joined hand together, but it was very well received in India. More than 50 Indian cities participated, both from the German side, Professor Matthias, few regional planning association from Saxony, as well as Ruhr and Hanover participated, and various Indian government offices have participated, and we came to learn from each other. I'm also trying to facilitate certain amount of other knowledge exchanges, like coloring cities research, which is we had before Christmas we had a discussion which need to be taken up. Also, Dr. Sujit is helping us for our another studio work, and I'm looking for more and more, collaborative exchanges together. And as a way forward, we have also invited, this is our national planning conference that's happening in Ahmedabad. Next month, we have invited some of the colleagues from different universities together. So, in a nutshell, I'm closing my IOER short-term stay with a positive note, with all of you looking forward how we can collaborate together and taking some of this our work ahead in this process. This is what I wanted to bring to your attention. Is before I close this is what world population prospects projected by United Nations. As you can see, from 10% of every urban resident would be an Indian. This is going to be where most of the future projections are coming. And this is where, the challenges, where you see the rapidly transforming processes we are witnessing. And that's the opportunity. And when I was looking back some of the news article in Ahmedabad and Gujarat, I see there is a lot of positivity. And as we speak, I just saw German Chancellor is in Ahmedabad flying kites with Indian Prime Minister. I see this could never be such a positive climate ever. So thank you very much for hosting me here, especially Professor Mark Wolfram, his secretary, Zaskia Hoffman, our research cluster head, Professor Martin Bellinch, Professor Matthias, all colleagues who are here, Professor Artem, Robert, and especially Dr. Christoph, Dr. Sujit, Henrik, everyone who has been I've been interacting with them day in and day out. Also a long lunch walks where we have exchanged, and also some of my colleagues and our alumni who are here from TU Dresden. Thanks for joining us in this with this, and also those who are joining online. Thank you very much. I have left my email ID and my also phone cam WhatsApp number. Most welcome, and we look forward to welcome you whenever you are in Ahmedabad or India. Thank you so much, and over to you.